serious conversation about something that is potentially touchy to some people, but I'm not saying anything offensive. Um, so hi, I'm host Eric. I'm here with host Zachary. We're talking transgender stuff. We've been talking with Tiffany on a few occasions lately, and um, probably I know for me, I've probably been directing my positions somewhat on an FE scale or something, like, or on a this is the position that's easiest to defend kind of thing. But it's not necessarily exactly what I feel about the whole issue, and I think that Zachary has some takes exception to some of it as well. So we're talking about that right now, and we'll see where we agree, where we disagree. Zach, you want to start us off with the is it called body dysmorphia? Is that what it's called?
Dysphoria.
Dysphoria.
Body
Okay.
dysphoria.
What's body
Um,
dysmorphia? Is that something too? Is it different? Or whatever.
um,
Who
I
cares?
don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, basically what we were talking about, before we were talking about. Well, first we were talking about how diverse our YouTube channel is, and how the amount of the diversity of individuals that come to our channel, and we talked about Tiffany, along with that, and she's a trans woman, and we started talking about, what our thoughts on that are. And in the video the other day, I argued from a position of gender is a biological reality, and that I kind of rejected the idea of that that gender is something different from sex that you can identify as. And I got kind of dissonance from Eric and Tiffany for that view. But the reason I hold that view and what I was trying to get at is that if we if we if we start viewing something like gender as, because if anyone's in college now, you notice, like, if you had a sociology class or a psychology class, they teach you that gender is something that's not binary, that you can be an extreme on this side male and female, and then everyone is somewhere on that scale, on that spectrum. But I reject that as an idea, because it it delegitimizes something like body dysphoria, which is something that occurs based on there are biological factors that happen during pregnancy, which cause individuals to be born with the mindset of the perception that I'm a female but I'm in this male body, or the opposite, I'm a male but I'm in this female body, etc. And if we view gender as something that is identity based, or self identity based, then we 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 no longer view something like transgenderism or body dysphoria as a thing that's wrong with individuals. But it only occurs in particular instances of biological defects. And
Okay,
if
so
we,
at this point, I asked the question: could it possibly be interpreted as somehow a legitimate mutation that an individual be born with some sort of physiologically different brain that directs that individual's manifestation to be what we conventionally understand as womanly or female or feminine, and for that identity to be put into a male body, and for somehow the right and appropriate thing to have happen is for that individual to then physically change their body by altering it with surgery.
and I said that I don't think that would necessarily be a solution, because if we just if we make a more of an effort to, or we are, as far as I know, still making an effort to determine the exact biological factors that cause body dysphoria and ways in which we can help it, and it may not even need, like, body reconstruction surgery. We may not even need rectal sex reassignment surgery, although that is a possible avenue for cures of body dysphoria. Um,
What do you think about things like a nose job or breast implants, things like that?
do you think? What do you think? Do I think people should be allowed to do it?
Well, no, I'm not saying do you think. I don't think we're talking about what exactly should be allowed here. I feel as though we're talking about whether or not this can constitute a legitimate and healthy behavior. the surgical part of it. That's,
Well, my personal views, and if you attack them, I'm not sure. We'll see how well they largely hold up. But I reject it because I reject the idea of I mean I think people should have the right to do it, of course, but I reject like facial reconstruction surgery or anything that sort of like external influence on your body to make it more appealing, for example, because wait, that no, that because that applies to like fashion or anything like that.
but
Stuff like
it's different though because that's stuff you put on your body is different than making changes to your body.
yeah, that was just the way I worded it. Implied it, but okay, making changes to the body. I think that I just think it
I don't like it either.
think about the ways people would have or it's not sex reassignment, but like facial reconstruction. Okay, if you want, let's say you want bigger tits, right? Well, the
I
reason you
do.
want bigger
I
tits,
do. I want big old
right?
knockers. I want big old bitties.
But the I think that there's either two reasons why someone in my mind could want it. Either one to improve self-identity and make you feel better about your own identity, or two, um, like that would be the first one, and the second one would be to increase chances of sexual interaction. And in both cases, in the first case, I think that it would be better to encourage more healthy ways of strengthening one's self-identity and integrity of self, as opposed to reconstructing your body. And in the second case, I personally think it's very I think it's degenerate to go looking for the sexual activity by biologically affecting your body. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, but the thing is, degenerate's an interesting word. I like that. I like that choice of words. It's great. I'm opposed to making permanent changes to your body. I think it's unwise unless you are addressing something that is a legitimate defect. And we have a standard to compare against, which is, a healthy human being has this much functionality, or somewhere within the range of functionality here, 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 and here. If the thing that you are addressing with surgery is you're being addressed because it reduces your functionality, like, oh, I can't walk very well because my leg is deformed. That's all a big difference than I don't like the way I look, so I'm getting a nose job or something. I think that the latter of those, it's it's like it's adults still reacting to mean things that were said to them when they were kids or something, you know, and that distresses me because it seems only to empower those who would reduce us for the wrong reasons.
By like physical characteristics.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's like people shouldn't be evaluated on those things, and so to play into it, I don't like it. There's a good chance you're gonna regret that shit too, you know.
Did you see that Bruce or Caitlyn Jenner that in an interview revealed that he actually regretted his decision, or he thought he is considering going back after a few years now. And apparently, after he had the facial reconstruction surgery to make his face look more feminine, he had a 15-second panic attack that the doctor said was hesitation was normal or something like that. So that's pretty ridiculous. Like I don't think in personally, I mean, I don't know the personal subjective experience of Bruce or Caitlyn Jenner, but I don't think that was a case of body dysphoria. I think that was a case uh of just simple like attention seeking or something to rile up media and stuff.
But see, you don't go that far with that. Instead, it was. I think those things are. there it entails a great deal of self-delusion. Yes, it includes some of that stuff you're talking about, and spending a lot of time thinking about how great that moment when you get everybody looking at you and giving you that attention sort of thing. But there's a great deal of deluding of oneself because you have to limit the scope of what you're looking at so narrowly. Say, well, in this one public arena, in regards to the way I relate to other people, I will have an improvement. But you're not thinking about anything else in your life
Well,
or how it's going to
well,
impact other
to
stuff.
I guess to clarify, Caitlin or Bruce's position, they apparently the reasoning is that he or she is still looking for the one. So I guess to decrease his odds of doing that, he would like to once again become a man.
The
So that's
one. Who's
what the
the
reason for
one? Well, I mean, that's such a strange thing to search for. I don't think.
the one.
Well, I read that thing that says there's this list of 10 desires that are basic human desires that are kind of like negative desires. One of the desires is to find a single romantic partner who will complete us and solve all of our problems and make everything make sense. And that's one of the sort of like desires that can never be fulfilled, but that a lot of people have. Another one is on there was the desire to.
Before we get off of this, can I say one last thing about the gender thing?
Yeah, let's keep talking about it. Dude, keep me back on track is fine.
The the reason I'm against the sort of the gender based or the identity based gender is because I think we know in developmental psychology there's certain behavior that each gender or sex has when the kid's developing. Like for example, sex segregation based in like children's play is a complete natural thing. And I know it's a pill nature fallacy, but go with me. Um,
Just,
it's a natural occurring phenomenon where uh, young girls tend to be more they enjoy activities that are more cooperative. They tend to be more cooperative in their play sessions and compassionate. And then young boys tend to be competitive and they like aggressive activities, like active activities. And these are things that occur naturally. Uh, but I feel that when you start looking at because the reason the whole identity-based gender thing became a thing is because the people have seen certain trends that exist within like gender roles, for example, and they see them as negative, and so they go from there and want to remove those negative influences, and they've gone that to they took that to the point of where now we see gender as completely socially constructed. But I feel like that the dangers of that is that it pathologizes certain behaviors that make boys and girls significant in their interactions with each other. Uh, Girls, when they're developing, when they're young, and we can pretty much presume that it carries over when they're older, enjoy activities that are compassionate and caring, and they're more really friends, whereas boys on the widespread are more about competition and competitiveness, and that keeps them thriving. That these interactions between the two genders, between two sexes, thrive. It's worked for so many hundreds of thousands of years. Humans have interacted and evolved this way, and I think it's going to pathologize that behavior, and that's why I reject it.
okay, well, it's interesting. An interesting take on it. I don't know. I don't see any sign that that behavior is actually being pathologized. I see signs that maleness in general is pathologized in schools because it's less cooperative.
Well,
But
that's a result of it. That's some like that's one of the factors that's coming
but
from the cultural shift.
I I don't think that's coming from there. I think that's coming from the fact that you've got a an education system that's designed very very badly, and it's going to naturally elicit some. I mean, people who don't want to be there and are being forced to be there are going to be bad, and males are going to be worse because they're more fighty. And so then the school system's going to punish males for being males.
Well, I think it's yeah. Well, yeah, that's what yeah. That's another thing about it. Is like natural boy behavior when they're growing up. I mean, they're gonna be active. They're gonna be hyperactive. They don't want to sit, and they just don't. They don't learn that way when they're younger, like how girls do. They don't want to sit, and they want to be active. They want to be engaging. And when you pathologize that behavior based on cultural shifts like that, then you put on kids like an ADHD or an ADD medication, something like that, and you
But
you
I don't
just
think that
really
has anything to do with the gender shift. I think that because look,
I think it has a lot to do with it. I think it has a lot to do with it.
I think the gender shift is being deduced from that in part. Because the reality is, because I listen, as somebody who's worked in school at all levels, as a teacher, as an administrator, as an owner, I can tell you the issue is not have anything to do with that boy is it's okay for us to punish that boy because he's not just being a boy, he's blah blah blah. It's instead that boy hates this and is acting out all the time. If you're a
That
reasonably enlightened person, then you're gonna be like, go outside and play, dude. You don't want to be in here. Like Derry was a fucking pain in the ass all year. He's a pain in the ass. Fourth grader doesn't belong in the class, didn't understand anything, hated being in there. Straight up S as like SF whatever as you could get. And I drew him outside to play a lot. Sometimes I did have to make him sit inside, and it sucked. I wish didn't do it. Frankly, I wouldn't do it again. But the point being, my dislike of him had nothing to do with my embrace of transgenderism, right? It had everything
I'm
to do
not
with the
saying
fact that
that now.
he's had everything to do with he's a pain in the ass. So I mean, his behavior is pathologized in my school environment because it's not. I have to actually get shit done, and he's not doing anything worthwhile, and he's getting interfering with other people's education. But that's why boy behaviors pathologizing the current system. I don't think it has anything to do with a change, shifting cultural attitudes towards gender
Think
roles.
about the aspects of the female that are pathologized now. Okay, when females get older and they enter the workforce, that's when it's enforced that they need to be competitive. They're just like guys. They have these innate competitive traits, and that's the push of the first wave feminist movement was for that, for equal rights and whatnot. And now it's becoming pathologized to the extent where now women have equal rights, and they need that. They deserve it. But we don't need to if a woman wants to stay home and be a mother, for example, or if they don't want to enter a competitive workplace, like we shouldn't pathologize that. And with a male, we shouldn't pathologize competitive behavior or young boys. Like when I don't think I think that what you're right about the educational system pathologizing young boy behavior like that, being hyperactive and not wanting to sit down and listen to lectures, want to be active and go outside and play. And but I think the over the bigger picture, in my personal perspective of it, I think it's because of the gender shift. I think that's the cultural phenomenon of it. That's how I perceive it.
But the problem with this notion of a gender shift in a cultural phenomenon is it implies that this loud minority of people who are vocalizing stuff, especially in a college environment, represent the culture as a whole. I think you're exposed to a lot more
I don't
about
think in
this.
academia there's a certain shift to it. Why is this stuff in textbooks now? You know,
Okay, well, I mean, the thing is, I think it's being challenged, though. I think that these radical shifts to the left are always motivated by the same thing, a sense of um, a sense that certain parties are being treated unfairly because of group attributes that somebody perceives. But the thing is, motivate that being well motivated like that is fine and dandy, but it doesn't withstand any scrutiny. It gets torn to pieces anytime it gets subjected to it. So it doesn't last very long until the next new language that they use, next new critical theory language that obfuscates the fact that it's nonsense.
mm,
I think that the world's feminist side is less feminist now, less aggressive now, I should say, than it was before. It used to be, I feel, more aggressive. However, it was probably less widely vocalized because there weren't as many means to vocalize it. But
I think it's even more widespread now. I think that if you look at online communities such as Tumblr and these communities that they sprout this kind of this sort of like you said, like critical theory stuff where it's just it's starting to. I think a lot of it too is like the movement to postmodernism and stuff is becoming more subjective. and it's the rise of this type of thinking where it's like, well, you know, if you look at the period of enlightenment and what came afterwards, I mean, what did it get us? It got us the nuclear weapon. It got us World War I and II. I mean, now it's like the cultural shift is more of a well, let's look. What should we progress now? Like, what are we looking at now? What do we know? What how should we progress society? Let's go for equality. First of all, we got that. Now what? Now we have to look at something like minorities. They're underrepresented. We should cater to them. We should help them.
Well, I think
Who is the most
they're grasping, right? They're grasping for new issues, and yeah, I think the real issue is libertarianism. You know, we need to stop the drug war. We need to stop shit like that because it's bullshit. That's why. So, but as far as the transgender thing goes, it's an odd phenomenon because you have somebody who is biologically a male and who is asserting his identity as a female. It feels really odd to me calling him Tiffany or calling him her. I've heard you default to the they instead. I think it's probably a worthwhile thing to do in the sense that it's got us talking about it and thinking about it. But I mean, I don't. I have trouble resonating with it in a way that helps it to make sense to me as a good thing to do. But I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. I'm saying I'm having trouble finding a reality that I can imagine in which it makes sense to me to do that.
right?
And are your take? What's your take on sexuality, though? How do you relate that to gender?
Um, my views on like homosexuality and whatnot is I don't I don't have the information, right? As far as I know, as far as I know, it's either biological or it's something that's determined based on some biological factors and some environmental factors. And both to me
Hold on
seem
one second. Hello.
Attention senior parents, Grad Night 2016 is only 2 weeks away, and we would like to see all seniors in attendance.
Never mind.
to me, homosexual behavior it either occurs biologically, or it occurs early with early environmental influences with some biological influences. Both to me seem un. It seems like it doesn't seem like a choice to me. It just seems like something that occurs. Uh, so my opinion with homosexuality is pretty much I'm pretty sympathetic toward it. I don't have any strong views on it. I don't think that it should be repressed. I don't think that people should walk around in gay parades naked and argue for the rights that they already have. But I
Well, um, I think that it's fine for them to walk around in gay parades naked and argue for the rights they already have if they hold up signs that say, "We want to keep the rights we already have." That's what I want them to do. Okay, I want them to be explicit about it. That's what they're arguing for. I mean, I keep in mind while I say I'm fine with the naked gay parade, I don't necessarily want it going down my hometown street. You know, it's a
street do you
little
want them to go?
much, huh?
What street should they go down then instead?
Well, I'd say they should go down a street more downtown where it's more businessy.
Let's send them to a very progressive place, maybe Frisco or
Right.
Portlandia.
Yeah, well, they have plenty of those parades
Let's send
already
them
there. Where they need more of them is probably in Kentucky, I'm guessing. I'm thinking they might not have enough down there.
there. If there are, they're in the closet or they moved out. There are not very many gay people around here.
Really?
Maybe they're like the 50s. They're in the closet, right? So they have their families, they have their families, their kids and their wife. And then after they go work, they go to the club and have a
are,
good time.
are there some build? Is there like some building near you that has like a picture of a rooster on it or whatever, no real name, and it looks all dark and
I
like
think it's by the yeah, I believe that's by the Mexican restaurant in town. Yeah.
it's called the gay cock.
Uh,
It
yeah, as
claims
far as
it claims to be an import exporter.
yeah, yeah. But as far as I know, I haven't been exposed to any information that sexual behavior isn't doesn't have a biological connection to it, or at least that's I don't think people. The way my perception is, I didn't choose to be heterosexual, so it never occurred to me how I choose.
Oh yeah. Well, that sounds like an end to this video. Let's bring this one to an end. Any last thoughts?
Um, not really.
All right. So to all the chicks, dudes, and others out there, rock on. A good ending. We'll see.